In Wolong Fallen Dynasty, you'll travel the land of ancient China fighting big monsters, but also solving a terrible plot about demonic Qi and the Han Dynasty. But look, I'm just here to fight big monsters. Here is my beginner guide for Wolong, covering all the weird and wacky systems and tips and tricks that you need to succeed. Let's go. Let me know in the comments your own tips and tricks so we can all help each other out. Let's start with some basics, then we'll get into some of the various systems and breaking all that stuff down, because there's a lot in Wolong and it's honestly not explained super well to you, but I'll do my best here to explain as much as I can. So we'll start with the basics. Now, Wolong operates very similarly to your typical Souls-like and action RPG genre. You explore, you fight things, you survive, or you don't, and you die, and then you lose your runes or souls, or in this case, genuine Qi is what it's called. But on your death, you only lose half of your genuine Qi, but you also lose your morale rank, which will fall to your fortitude rank. Your morale rank and fortitude rank play an extremely critical role into your success and your overall damage, combat power, how much damage you take, more than I would honestly say your level to some regard. So it's extremely important that you know how these systems work, and I'll do my best to explain them. But essentially, at the start of every battlefield, you'll start at morale rank 0. Some battlefields you might start a little bit higher depending on that battlefield. But essentially, during that battlefield, you'll explore the semi-open connected area and be trying to increase your morale rank before you take on the boss. So what morale rank is and how it works essentially is, if you've played the demo, you would have experienced some of the basics of this system. But morale rank affects your strength in battle, but it's separate to your actual level. So the same is true for all enemies as well that you face in the battlefield. Morale rank affects the amount of damage you do to enemies and receive from enemies in combat. If an enemy's morale rank is higher than yours, it'll either appear as yellow or red depending on how much higher it is, but you need to be very aware of these enemies. Even if they're enemies that you've fought many times before, if their morale rank is in the red and at least 5 higher than yours, you need to be very careful about actually pushing that fight. And if you don't take damage, then it won't matter the amount of damage they do to you, but it is a significant difference. And you make one mistake in some of those encounters, and especially the risk reward elements in Wolong, it can definitely be an issue. Now, morale rank also affects your wizardry spells. So there are certain spells, especially the higher you get into the different trees, that will require you to have a certain morale rank before you can actually use them in combat. In most cases, it's not very high, it might be 7 or 12 or something like that. So by the time you get to the boss at the end of that battlefield, you've got that morale rank anyway, so you can use those skills, but it's just be mindful that in some of these encounters, especially the more powerful spells that you may have, you won't be able to use them until you get to that point in that specific encounter. Your morale rank does appear on the UI just above your health bar, so you can always see what your morale rank is at. And in order to increase this morale rank, you need to get morale points, and up to a limit of 25. That's the max rank that you can be. And essentially you get these points by defeating enemies and landing special attacks like martial arts attacks or spirit attacks, fatal strikes, that sort of thing on them in combat. The higher the enemy's morale rank, the more points you'll earn, so the more rank you'll gain for defeating them. But you just need to be careful about challenging things that may be above your current rank level. The most consistent way to maintain and increase your morale rank is with fortitude rank. So fortitude rank, which you can see by pausing in the top right, you'll be able to see what your max fortitude rank is. This is the number that is the minimum that your morale rank will ever fall to. Regardless of how many times you die, your morale rank won't fall below this number. Now, increasing this number is your main focus in these battlefields. Obviously, the higher morale rank you have, the better, but getting this number up in case you die is the main benefit. And there is really 2 ways to do this. The main way is by capturing the battle flags that you see throughout the world. Now, these are your rest points. Some of these are controlled battle flags, so you might have to defeat a sort of a mini boss or a leader enemy with his followers that are surrounding this battle flag in order to capture it, and then you'll get morale rank just for capturing it. And the other is marking flags. Now, marking flags are smaller battle flags that when you plant them, you will heal, but you won't essentially get all the same rewards and be able to rest at them like you can at a battle flag. But these will be located around corners in hidden places around all of the battlefields. You can always see how many battle flags and marking flags are available in each map. In the top right, it'll say how many you have found and how many there is total for that battlefield. But it's worth pointing out that finding these and getting it to the max, which is typically 20 in most battlefields, is if you've got every marking flag and battle flag, especially the main story ones, the max will be 20 and the boss that you'll fight will be 20. Now, because you can get your morale rank to 25, you'll get a significant advantage in combat by doing that. So if you've got some fights that are just a little bit hard, or some boss that you're really struggling with, going back and just killing enemies, getting morale points, getting up to rank 25, and then taking on that fight might make it a little bit easier for you. And I've definitely found found that in some of the encounters. So now that you're out there fighting all the bad guys and you're collecting genuine chi, let's talk about leveling up. Now, when you hit that level up screen, you're going to see a star, and this is the 5 virtues. It's a pretty tough decision around what to make and what these virtues actually do. They not only affect your stats, but they also affect secondary abilities as well as wizardry spells that you can learn and use, as well as the different status effects that you'll use in combat and whether you'll be able to use them or not. There's a lot of things that go into these virtues, but firstly, and the main thing, is that these will affect your overall damage and output and everything in the same way that stats in these games basically always do. We'll break each one of them down, and we'll start with wood. Now, wood affects your HP, the amount of spirit lost when attacking. The wood virtue is also used for shock elements and lightning-based wizardry attacks. For every level, regardless of the stat you are increasing, you will get some HP. However, with wood, you get an extra amount. So you get 7 per wood stat and only 3 per the other stats. Fire affects your amount of spirit gained when attacking and the amount of spirit consumed from martial arts, like those special, similar to like an Ash of War in Elden Ring, martial arts act as like special weapon skills. The fire virtue also increases like burning effects when applied to enemies, as well as fire-based wizardry spells. The earth virtue affects your equipment weight limit and the amount of spirit gained when deflecting an attack. Now, equipment weight limits works pretty similarly to all of the other kind of Souls-like games, but we'll break that down heavily in the next video, so make sure you're ready for that. But if you want to wear some of the heavier gear, then earth is the stat you want to invest in because of the equipped weight limit that it does increase. Metal affects the duration that high level of spirit can be maintained and the spirit consumed by wizardry spells. Let's just pause for a quick second and explain spirit. We've talked about it a lot in this video on spirit, but essentially spirit is that gauge next to your health bar that will either be positive or negative depending on what you're doing. So if you use a spell, for example, that will cost spirit, so your spirit will go into the negative, and just like generally attacking and like, I guess, succeeding in combat, you know, deflecting, that sort of stuff, will push the spirit into the positive, and there are different effects in terms of that. So some things get powered up when you're in the positive, some things get lowered effects when you're in the negative, but essentially you want to be in the positive as much as possible, because when that bar hits 0, you'll get like staggered and just be a sitting duck for enemy attacks. All right, moving on. Metal is also used for toxin-based wizardries like poison effects, that sort of thing. And the last is water. Now, water is how easily enemies can detect you, so your stealth, as well as the amount of spirit consumed when deflecting. The water virtue also is used for ice-based wizardry and applying the chill effect to enemies. Picking between these different virtues is extremely hard, and there isn't really a right answer because it is all dependent on your build. Now, each of these 5 virtues can be your primary stat depending on what weapons you're using. If you look at any of the weapons that you do have, you will see a scaling based on attack bonus for some of these stats. Typically it's 3, and the highest ones, let's say for example A, and it's in the fire category. This means that this weapon is extremely good for fire and you'll get additional damage for leveling up your fire and using this weapon, than say a different weapon that isn't scaling with fire as well as this. But that choice is really up to you. I would say a really good starting decision would be to put some points into wood, just because of that extra HP value that you do get. So having a higher health means you can survive longer, and that's obviously important, but it is really up to you and whatever build that you want to do. I will have some builds coming out specifically in how you can build out your characters in Wo Long, so watch this space for that sort of stuff. Allies are another piece of the Wo Long puzzle that will join you for pretty much every battlefield that you go on. If you don't have a companion or ally with you, you can summon them at the cost of a Tiger Seal. Tiger Seals can be found throughout the world and by avenging fallen players, so in some situations you'll see a player has, you know, died to some sort of an enemy. If you defeat them, you'll get accolades, which can be then traded at the hidden village to get various rewards, but you'll also get Tiger Seals. Now, Tiger Seals are the main thing here that you'll then use to summon allies. In every battlefield, you can have 2 allies summoned, and even in battlefields that say you have to have, or say a specific ally is just like joining you as part of the story, you can like kick them out and summon a different ally if you are trying to level specific allies. Now, the main focus here on these allies is they will benefit you by taking off some of that combat pressure by enemies attacking them and them attacking them. Allies also have passive buffs that they will apply to you, and the higher your oath level with them, they can actually have 2 different buffs that they can apply. Now, leveling up these different allies is actually really valuable to do. At level 10, so when you become like their sworn brother, you'll get a copy of that ally's gear. This is really good because it's typically some of the best gear that you'll find, or better gear than you'll find, as it's all the highest rarity and it's often unique and will have very good effects. So let's say you've got an ally and you're playing as like a fire build, you want to summon them for most of the battlefields and level them up so you get a copy of their gear, because it'll just be better than the gear and armor and stuff that you've already got. You can speed this process up by giving them a Cup of Cordiality, which is just an item you'll find out in the world. This will just give them 1 level towards like their next level level of Oath. So there are other ways to do this, but the main way that you'll level up your allies is just by having them with you for these encounters, and you'll see a little pop up in the corner when you do level them up. I'm saving more specific combat tips and more in-depth stuff for a video that's going to come out tomorrow. I'll have that linked here if it's already out, which it probably already is. So go and watch that next as you want to get into the nitty-gritty details of the game. But I just wanted to have a video explaining systems and things because I personally found these are the most complex and harder things to grasp when I started playing. So I wanted to give you guys this video, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty stuff in the next one. So click on that link here and we'll get into that. All right, thanks guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza. I hope you have a great day.